Okay, welcome to an overview of the Icon Catalyst system. Initially, then, the first thing that we need to do is register and log on for the system. And once you've done that, you can then go to the portal log on. For the first time, you'll have to go through the process. Once you've done that, by clicking on the portal, it will then take you to the client access area. In this area, if you've selected branding and a number of upgrades, it will change to reflect the company and the organization. At the moment, this is just reflecting on the default screen. You've got a number of options, including the credits and purchasing, also how to use the system, support functions if required, client trends, and I'll explain what the client trends are slightly later. First thing that we want to do then is to create a project. Now, when you create a project, you'll be selected into another menu system. And what you've got the option there, calling a project name, client, types, packages, and frameworks. If you've decided to go for an off-the-shelf package, you can select the package and the framework that matches that package and then create the project. If you wanted something bespoke with your own competencies, values, behaviors, then the system can do that as well, but it will be preloaded as part of your onboarding system. So for this then, we're just going to select a package, which is our default Icon Profiler package. The framework will use the Icon Profiler. We'll call it a project name. We'll give it a client name as well. And once we've done that, we can then create the project. Once we've created the project will now appear down below. So we've got your participant ID, everything's created. And then by clicking on that, we can then start to add participants and raters if required. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a participant into the system. Okay, once I've added the individual, depending on the project or the plan, then I can go on to add more participants or more raters if required. For this one, though, what we're looking at is we're only looking at one individual. So for this one individual, we can now email the individual. So we need to send, and the email is automatically sent. We now have the screen. So the participant has now been sent an email to complete the survey. But from this perspective, we can still control resending, deleting. We can copy the link for the email for the survey as well. And this is the type of survey that the individual would get for this particular screen. You can see the survey tells you what it is, how it's going to be tested, and then there is a number of questions and surveys that you can go through to do that. So the individual would go through the survey and answer all of the questions. Okay, so once the individual has completed the report, we can then come back to the system if we're managing it. I'll just refresh the screen, and what you can see happen now is that the system has now completed. So you can see the completed, and there's a number of things that we can do from this particular screen. So the individual we can email the report to the individuals. We can look at the report ourselves, and we can click on something called an action plan. The first thing that we're going to look at is if you click on view report. Once we click into the report function ourselves, this is exactly the same report that we would email or send to the individual, group, whatever we were doing with. So if we were doing a motivational or high performing teams, it would be a different report. So the reports are also bespoke to the frameworks and the package that is selected as well. As I said, this one's for a leadership one and splits into a primary leadership and a secondary leadership. So very sort of on the insight sort of spectrum, and gives the individuals exactly where they need to go as well. So it's very interactive. The reports are interactive as well, and it gives those people all of the information that we required. One of the interesting things that the system will do, so we can review the reports, we can do that information, we can control what's happening from this perspective, we can resend invites, etc., etc. But what it also does, depending on what you've selected, it gives us a function to action plan as well. So by clicking on the action plan, it will then bring up a new particular screen. And what we can do on this screen is, based on the information that has been done, based on the survey and based on the report, we can then generate a recommended plan. So what the system will do, it'll look at the results, it'll calculate what it needs to do, and then it will then put a number of actions in there. So this for us is very looking at the gap, looking at the analysis, and then you can see and then move that as well. So very much action plan built into the system, but is based and built specific to the system and the survey and those results. So if I just go back to the portal, what it will do is it takes us all the way back to this particular screen so we can manage exactly what we're doing. Now, if I collapse all the projects, if we had several projects in the system with multiple users and multiple individuals, and we want to look at the trends of all of our projects, and we want to have a look at what's happening in our organization, by clicking on the Click Trends in button, what it will then do is it'll bring up a portfolio of trends on what's happening within your organization or within those. So it'll bring up and will highlight exactly where your strengths and weaknesses within multiple competency frameworks. So that's one of the unique things that the system will allow you to do. So very quick overview of what the system can do. Reports will do 360, 180s, high performing teams, individual leadership, bespoke leadership. It's also got the Icon profiler system. So that's the 4 leadership styles built into the system. It'll give you an action plan capability, and it'll also give you a trend for the whole organization through multiple projects that you may have ongoing. The system will also has the ability to design your own competencies, your own framework based on your individual company needs. And that can be a manual or an input, branding. The system can do all of that for you. So if you're interested in what the system can do, drop us a message, give us a link. And yeah, looking forward to you coming on board on the system and seeing what it can do.